What is going on, everybody? How is everybody doing today? Welcome back here today to another episode of Just Ballin', and today we are talking defense. I'm going to be giving you guys my all defensive first team. I'm giving you my all defensive second team, and then probably going to do a good old snub team as well. So maybe it's going to technically be an all defensive third team. So I did do my all NBA teams on this pod a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, I got to give some love to the defense, right? This is going to be really tough. It is going to be really tough just because I feel like, first team might be easy. And then when we get to second team, and even like the snubs, I'm going to leave off of the snub team. Probably going to hurt me not having them as like a final spot for this. But we're only here in February. We have half the NBA season left, a little bit under half the season left. So a lot can change until we get like the 10 best defenders that come out at the end of the NBA year. And what helps me come up with my lists, which are very tough to do, is Magic Mind. And Magic Mind allows me to have a sharper mind, stronger motivation, calmer energy, and less stress throughout the day in just this little bottle. Last week during the trade deadline, I was dealing with the flu and I was down bad, but once I got through it a little bit towards the end, Magic Mind started to help me feel a little bit better throughout my day. And like I said, just this little bottle that is so easy to drink, and I could just start my day with it, and I could just add it to my morning routine, and it helps me just feel a little bit better throughout the day. And Magic Mind runs a great promotion for you guys, my viewers as well, where if you use code BALLIN20, BALLIN 20, you get 20% off a one-time purchase and up to 48% off for subscriptions with that code BALLIN20. That's BALLIN 20. And thank you to Magic Mind for sponsoring today's episode. All right, so let's hop into this. All right, let's just get out of the way. I think who's probably going to be who's probably going to win Defensive Player of the Year, Victor Wembanyama. I think only so much I could talk about stats for this. Obviously, Wemby is leading the NBA in terms of total stocks, but really to get the overall feel what these guys do defensively, just kind of have to watch the games. And Wemby, somebody that stands in at 7'3" and has just like an aura around the rim and a gravity around the rim where you have to be focused on him at all times, because he could block your shot with realistically not even jumping, and he could just put his hand up and he's going to either alter your shot, he could block your shot, he could block your view, and he just commands such a presence inside the paint. And I think that's what makes Wemby so electric as a defender. I mean, on the year, he's averaging 3.9 blocks, which leads the NBA, and also 1.2 steals. He's able to get deflections. He's able to get into the passing lanes. And I think that's just what makes Wemby his 7'3" body, and he's able to guard multiple positions inside the three-point line and just be a menace for all players out there on the opposing end as a defender. And if you look at his odds to win Defensive Player of the Year, minus 2,400. So, there's a pretty good chance that Wemby's going to win Defensive Player of the Year this year in year number 2, after finishing up runner-up to Defensive Player of the Year last year, 2024, to Rudy Gobert. So when you're talking about the best defenders in the league, he might be already the best defender in the league for somebody that's just 21 years old. He turned 21 last month, and he's already a top 10 player in the NBA. He's the best defender in the sport. There could be some debate, but I don't really think there is. I think Wemby's the best defender right now, and I think he'd be a clear shoo-in for all defensive first team. He's going to win Defensive Player of the Year unless something crazy happened. So I think we could get hot takey throughout this, and I think a lot of your all defensive teams, especially now before maybe there's an overall consensus on who should be making these, there could be some subjective ones, and there could be like, all right, man, I did not expect this guy to be this high, but somebody that I think is bouncing back that maybe isn't getting the stocks he had a few years ago. I think Jaren Jackson Jr. has been an all-defensive first-team caliber guy this year. He is a recent Defensive Player of the Year winner. He ended up winning the award back in 2023, where he averaged 3 blocks and 1 steals. Funny enough, I guess looking back on it now, there was a time frame where there was like a whole Reddit investigation that the Grizzlies score table was giving him like 1 extra steal or 1 block a night. Like maybe it was just like, I don't know, it didn't get touched and a player lost the ball or lost the handle, and they would kind of like reward a block to Triple J. And now it's just funny to look back on because he hasn't even come close to 3 blocks since the 23 season. But he's somebody that also can do such a great job guarding multiple positions within the half court. He's still a great shot blocker. He does a great job getting into passing lanes, and he can stay with quicker like opposing wings or guards very well because of Jarrett Jackson Jr.'s either defensive IQ or his lateral quickness. And I think he's somebody that is just still a fantastic post defender that can guard multiple positions in the post. And I think deserves to be on all defensive first team this year. I don't want to give like all 5 spots to bigs. I might have 4 bigs, but I'd like to get at least one perimeter defender or one perimeter defender, either a wing or a guard on this team. But I think Triple J, like, I'd be okay if you finish number 2 a defensive player of the year voting runner up to Wemby. I mean, right now he's 3rd in odds behind Wemby, but I think Jaren Jackson Jr. is kind of getting back to what he was as a defender, where he went DPOY 23. Now that there's this alien in the league since he won that DPOY, I don't know if he's ever going to get one again, but I do think that Jaren Jackson Jr. Has been anchoring the Grizzlies, because you look at where they are defensively this year. 6th ranked defense, best defender anchoring that defense this year. So I do believe that, yeah, Triple J should be on all defensive first team. I do think Evan Mobley should also be on an all defensive team. I think what he does is kind of similar to Jaren Jackson Jr. in a way, because Mobley obviously has like a skinnier frame than Triple J, but he could be such a good shot blocker, either on guarding 4s, either guarding 5s. Maybe it's a guy that maybe like gets a nice rebound over Jaren Allen and he gets around him, and Evan Mobley is right there to just be such like the safety option, weak side to Jared Allen. I mean, on the year, Mobley's averaging 1.5 blocks, 0.9 steals. So it's not like he's got the most stocks in the world, but when I'm watching Cleveland and their defense, which is ranked 8th in the NBA, Mobley sticks out every time on that end of the floor, being such a great defender that he can anchor this defense. He's the best defender on this team, and I think he just provides them just like this elite defensive 4 that can complement Jared Allen so well on the defensive end. Now, maybe Evan Mobley, if he was a full-time 5, would not be as impactful as a defender, or maybe he would be. Maybe he'd have an extra 0.4 blocks tonight and 0.2 steals a night or something like that to make his stocks look a little bit better to the maybe casual eye. But I think Mobley, a lot of what he does, a lot of what he's able to read on defense does not show up on the box score. And I think he can also make some dirty plays as well. Not the bad ways, but like kind of doing the dirty work is what I should say, not dirty plays. Because I do think Evan Mobley is incredible. I don't know if there's like a gap between Jaren Jackson Jr. and Mobley. Like I definitely like Jaren Jackson Jr.'s defense more than Mobley's this year. But I do think this is like an easy, like all these guys like Wemby, Triple J, and Mobley have to be on all defensive first team. All right, next up, I think I'm going to give it to Dyson Daniels. I think I'm going to have Dyson Daniels make my all defensive first team. Now, it's come down to earth a little bit for Dyson since he got off to that insane steal start, where he is now averaging 3 steals a night this year. That still leads the NBA. But I do think if I was going to get at least one perimeter defender, honestly, I may find a way to get another one on all defensive first team. I had to get Dyson Daniels in here. You can see he's all atop the board at deflections per 36, deflection totals. He's got 96 more deflections than number 2 in Kelly Oubre. He's got the most deflections per 36, the most deflections per game, and he's somebody that's going to die for loose balls too, which I just love watching about Dyson Daniels games. It could be either 6 minutes into the fourth quarter or 30 seconds into the start of the game. He's going to treat it like it's game 7 of the NBA Finals most of the time. And he's someone that's going to do the dirty work. He's going to guard other teams' best offensive players. And I've watched him like lock up Jalen Brunson this year. I've watched him locked up some of the best offensive guards in the league. And Daniels sits in at 6'8", and he's just basically this guard that can go over any screen. He could kind of go right into screens as well and use either his strength, his elusiveness, or just his long wingspan to get around them. And then he's also able to use his long frame to catch up if a defender, or excuse me, if an offensive player gets a step on Daniels and maybe he's on their hip and behind him a little bit, and he's able to use that 6'8" frame to make up for that. So I do think Dyson Daniels probably deserves to be on all defensive first team, if not second team this year, but I'm going to throw him on first team. And then joining these guys to also get all defensive first team honors, I know I'm only going to do 3 bigs, but I'm going to get Amen Thompson. I do think Amen Thompson is one of the best defenders in the sport at year number 2 in this league. He's a sophomore. He's 22 years old. He really is like Ben Simmons 2.0, that he can do like everything well outside of shoot. But he is also, I think, more exciting in a way about Ben Simmons. Maybe not. I don't know. Ben Simmons had like the high school resume, the college like hype, and the number 1 pick hype. But Amen Thompson is such an incredible athlete, such an incredible athlete. He's averaging 1.4 steals, 1.2 blocks, and he also didn't start for a decent amount of the year. Now he's starting. Now he's somebody that's not going to win like sixth man of the year, but he can also guard so many guys on the perimeter like Dyson Daniels. And what I think Amen does like that, like when you're watching the Rockets basketball, he does it so effortlessly. He looks like he's so much more athletic, quicker, stronger, and even smarter than everybody else out there. Obviously, it depends who he's guarding. Maybe he's going to have a little bit more trouble against some of the best offensive players in the league, but so does everybody else. And I think Amen Thompson has been like a borderline top 5 defender this year. He won Defensive Player of the Month this year as well, and I do think he belongs on all defensive first team. I don't know if we're going to get 3 bigs and 2 perimeter defenders, because I think last year Herb Jones was the only wing to get on all defensive first team. But yeah, I do think Amen Thompson belongs on all defensive first team with Dyson Daniels this year. So yeah, I guess I don't know if that's going to be like a hot take at all, that's my all defensive first team, but I like that 5. All right, so a boring one that could also get on all defensive first team. I still think Bam Adebayo is one of the best rim protectors in the sport, and I do think he has been still really good to his standards, which is very high every single year. Bam has been kind of a disappointment offensively. He's been better as of late, but he did get off to a very slow start this year offensively. Defensively, he's averaging 1.2 steals, 0.8 blocks, but he's always like never been really a big stocks guy. He's never really at the top of the league in that. And I do think Bam is still one of the best rim protectors in the NBA, trying to anchor this Miami Heat defense, which I don't think is, where's it at on the year? They're 10th in the NBA in terms of defensive rating. So I would have Bam there on all defensive second team. Another guy that I think low-key has been like a top 10 defender. He missed some time earlier in the year, but he's been one of the best perimeter defenders for the guard spot. Andrew Nembhard, he also won a Defensive Player of the Month award, but he's someone that honestly could stay in front of kind of anyone. Now I know like Jalen Brunson has did very well against Nembhard in the playoffs, but in the regular season this year, Nembhard has been one of the best guard defenders, 6'5", and sometimes you think he could be even smaller than that, but he just uses his size, his strength, his quickness, and maybe has some of the best cardio in the sport, because he could stay up and down the floor with you for all 48 minutes if he really wanted to. And I'm sure we are going to see his defense on display once again in the biggest stage come playoff time, because we saw when he was guarding Brunson, he struggled. They went to Neesmith at times in the playoffs last year, but Nembhard can really hold his own now with almost anybody in the league. And honestly, I don't think it's crazy to say that he's been a top 10 defender in the sport. So I have a Pacer, I have a Heat there. A player that I think has to make it is somebody from the OKC Thunder. I don't know. I actually I'm curious to see. I don't know if Lou Dort has ever made an all defensive team. Off the top of my head, no. And I do think Dort's been really good defensively. I don't know if we're going to get like a Jalen Williams on an all defensive team, who I think has been good this year. I don't know if I'll get him on the team. He might make my all snub team. I don't know if Cason Wallace will make it as well, but he could be in consideration. I'm going to have Lou Dort, though, on all defensive second team. He has just been a pest once again, and he's able to stay on the perimeter with anyone else. He can guard multiple positions because of his strength, his ability to get low to the ground, and he can really hold his own in the post against taller defenders. He's 6'4", 220, still built like a free safety out there, and he is one of the best defenders in the sport, and has been at times throughout most of his career, and I still think he deserves some love. I don't know if like Alex Caruso could get some love as well this year. Obviously, the offensive numbers have been kind of abysmal. They have been better as of late. He's actually rattled off 3 nice games in a row. But I don't know. I may get Caruso on an all defensive team. But for now, I think I'm going to go with Lou Dort. We'll see if I'm going to get another Thunder. I know it's also a boring pick, but I do think Rudy Gobert has been at least all defensive second team worthy this year. He would go from winning DPOY last year to falling down to all defensive second team. But if you look at the Minnesota Timberwolves, they're the 7th ranked defensive team this year, and they've had some bad defenders in their lineups. And I still think like Gobert isn't as like impactful as he was last year, where he won Defensive Player of the Year. I do think he's at least good enough to be on all defensive second team this year. And my last spot, like I think Jalen Suggs could have been here, but he suffered an injury, so I don't know if I'm gonna really reward his games played. I'm trying to think of like there's another big man that I want to have here. There also could be a Clipper, but like I don't think I'm gonna get Derrick Jones Jr. or Chris Dunn on a team. So I think my last spot, I'm going to give it to, where is that? So I think my last spot, I'm going to give it to Alex Caruso. like he flies around everywhere, man, defensively, and he's really fun to watch. Like him and Mu Dort out there on the perimeter, and you add in like Case and Wallace. Like my snub team, you could give love to Case and Wallace, you could give some love to Isaiah Hartenstein, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. I do think Jalen Williams is the one guy I will give some love to because I do think he's taken some really nice steps defensively this year for this team. And Chet Holmgren was probably going to be here if he didn't get hurt. Man, the OKC Thunder's defense is absolutely incredible this year. I mean, they by far and away the best defense in the NBA. It's on pace to be one of the best defenses in a while in this league. Like there's a bigger gap between, it looks like, number 2 defense, the LA Clippers, to basically like the number 11 defense Bucks, and there is 1 and 2. That's how far and away better the Thunder defense is than any team in the NBA because of all their incredible defenders this year. So I'm going to give some love to Caruso, the last spot there. And yeah, shout out to the perimeter players. Yeah, I have 5 bigs and 5 perimeter players here on my first 2 teams, which is really cool. All snub team, like I'm going to give J-Dub some love. I do want to give some love to Asar Thompson. Asar, I think, has been really good defensively when he's been out there this year, and he's been kind of coming along alive as of late. I don't know if I want to give like Zubac some love, but I'm trying to figure out like what Clipper I'd like to give some love to throughout this. So I think if I'm going to give some love, I think I'm going to give love to Chris Dunn because I think he's done a great job as a perimeter defender this year. I think I can give some love as well to Anthony Davis. I mean, maybe I do end up getting Anthony Davis on an all defensive team and I drop Caruso. Yeah, maybe I have that instead of having 2 Thunder, but the Thunder, I mean, deserve maybe 4 or 5 all defensive guys this year. I think Goga Badatse could deserve some love. I mean, Jalen Suggs, he went down, but if I wanted to put him as like my last spot here, I think he can deserve that as well. But he's going to miss some time this year. So a lot of like perimeter guys on the all snub team. So this is what I'm going to decide with. I probably should have had Anthony Davis there on all defensive second team. Just kind of forgot about him because he got hurt once again for the Dallas Mavericks. This is what I'm going to go with. I'm sure there's maybe a guy snubbed off all snub team that you can let me know down below. Please do. I would like to know kind of your basis for your all defensive first team or second team. Let me know a guy I left off. And if you did enjoy my list, I'd appreciate you dropping a thumbs up. And hey, if you didn't enjoy the list, I would also still appreciate it if you drop a thumbs up here on YouTube. Thank you again to Magic Mind for sponsoring today's video. You can take a look at them. Link is in the description. And then, yeah, if you guys are listening on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, really appreciate a rating and review. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.